Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have, as usual, a great show for you today. I have a few clips that I have for you, two short and one a little bit less short. But anyway, we are going to have a good time. Welcome aboard, El Senor. First in the house, ABQ, El Senor Michael Rudden from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome aboard, Michael, with all the shorts that you brought for me. Hey, Michael, I have a favor for you that I need to ask. I love that you bring these shorts. Can you do me a favor? I noticed you list them. If you could just list them like the topic short, so that I can kind of get an idea of how to fit it into the flow of the program. I like what you're doing there, but I'd like to get something in it, to know what each one like you normally have done with the other stuff that you put in the link before. Appreciate it, brother. All right, let's see what else we got here. Welcome aboard. We also have Patrick Magner, who says meow from Houston, Texas. We also have in the house Joe, and from Los Angeles, California, Harry Denson, Missouri City, Texas. How you doing, my dear brother Denson? By the way, give your brother my regards for me. Eric Hayes here from Kingwood. We also have let's see. Sarah Karoff in the chat, the Substack chat. We also have Richard Ince. Bruce Pollard says, back for more peace. Bruce is from Kingwood, Texas. Candy Burns, Julia, Richard C. Brown, as well as Shoop, Sandy Shoop. Who else is here? Bruce is in Lynette is in Illinois. Hi, Lynette. Welcome. Well, Lynette is like one of our resident greeters. I love Lynette. Todd, how you doing? Bobby K in the house. Julia says, please make your intro shorter. I almost left thinking there was no. Let me tell you, I want to make it shorter. I'm trying to get in, sis. I'm trying to get in. What happens is the following. There are times I'm not ready, and I don't want to just leave the empty space at 3 o'clock. So I'm doing all kinds of things at the same time. So tell everybody, if I have an intro going, I'm about to get started. I'm only one person here. Maybe sometime I'll have enough subscriptions that I can get some help. But that's a problem, Julia. Okay? That's a problem, Julia. All right, we got Mary Campton. How you doing, Mary Campton? And we got Angie Decadence. I just love that name. And Deb Later, Karen. All right, what we're going to talk about today. I didn't get a chance to write it down into the blog yet. I'll do the blog after the show and after my spinning. But here's the deal. We're going to talk a little bit about that speech that Trump made in Michigan. Karen is from Grenville, Ohio. Thank you for being here, Karen, and Deb Layler as well. All right, we're going to talk about that. Gene Daigle is in the house as well. Welcome, Gene. And Lita Bearcat from Austin, Texas. May Wood from Long Beach, California. I like to call people out. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate your presence. All right, we're going to talk about the speech that he gave, and that speech is all encompassing, okay? It's an all encompassing speech, and it is Donald Trump. We're also going to talk about, while he's in Michigan, show you a little bit of the TMZ video that, the guy shows he shows how much class he has. Janet from Alabama listening. M. Hope, thank you for being here. John A. I think John A. is from Minnesota. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. We're also gonna show a little quick video on a Republican guy who pretty much has had it with Donald Trump and what ICE is doing. But I want to start out talking about Greenland because I don't understand. I really don't understand this. And I am saddened by the media. The media is reporting about Greenland as if it is something sort of normal. Like, well, they're negotiating whether, how they can resolve this issue with Donald Trump, etc. What kind of a coverage is that? The media should immediately come out and call Trump what he is, an imperialist that is trying to put our country in trouble by going up against an ally, by trying to take territory away from an ally. He shouldn't be trying to take territory away from anybody. We have an established world order as it is right now. We have an established world order. Not that it's perfect. I mean, there's a lot that needs to be corrected, but the correction doesn't mean going and appropriating more land. That's not what it means. It does not mean going to appropriate more land. Welcome aboard, Barbara Wills. Welcome aboard, Paul Fleming from Atlanta, Georgia, as well. That's not what it means. And by the media making it seems like this is something that should be negotiable, they should really be in his skin. How dare you? How dare you try to become uh, Jonathan the Conqueror or whoever it is? How dare you? It's bad enough that you invaded Venezuela, but again, we've always done that kind of stuff in Latin America, the United States, that is. But the one saving grace is even as we occupy temporarily Panama or Venezuela or Haiti or Cuba. Well, not Cuba. Well, Cuba, yeah. We have not messed with the territorial integrity of said country, right? But now we are actually speaking about then we have to take Greenland. It's not we should only be attacking the mainstream media for making this sort of, well, Trump says he's going to do this and we should be slamming every Democrat and every Republican out there not coming out and just saying we need to take Trump to the Hague. We need to we need to hold him down for actually being a what is the word? Not just an imperialist, but a war criminal. If he ever attempted anything on a country, adopting a country, he would be a war criminal. And we treat it as if he has the right to do that. Everybody should be up in arms. Everybody should be, what the hell is going on here? This is not what America is supposed to be. And anybody supporting this Neanderthal for doing this is not an American. It's not an American. You cannot be an American and support what this guy is actually doing. Astedian says, my congressman is a coward. Mia Babin, Texas 36. Oh, you're here in Texas. Yeah. It is a shame, right? It is something. LBW says demented ideation. But you know what is the thing about it, right? Is that LBW, even as he's doing this, right? There are, in fact, people behind him, the tech bros and all these guys. They will never shed blood for the country. They will never talk about invading anything. But they understand that if it goes through and somehow he gets a chance to take over Greenland, he gets a chance to have more control over Venezuela. It's not the oil, baby. It's the rare earths. It is the rare earths. And the tech bros, that is what they are looking at. That is what they're looking at in Venezuela. That is what they're looking at in Greenland. So they'll let him talk all the crap that he wants, but again, that is what they're looking at. You know, in in Venezuela, they have this stuff called coltan. It is a tantalum and niobium. This mineral that they're looking at is very highly valued in the creating batteries and electronics and all that sort of stuff. And that's what they're actually after. Okay? That is what they're after. It is shameful. Harry says, okay, I will. Egberto, how are you? My brother Alan is getting more ambulatory every day since he has left the hospital last month. That is great, Harry. Give him my regards. You know, I love brother Alan. So give him my regards. Paul Fleming says Trump is totally confused by what he's been asked here, completely indifferent to the suffering of others. I didn't see that one, so let me go ahead and put that up. Oh yeah, actually, I do think I saw that. Let me go ahead and bear with me before I get it. Uh, uh, well, I gotta cue it up again. Good one. Let's go ahead and play that one as one of the first user presented piece of our program today. Let's go ahead and do that, and then I'll get it.
He's heartbroken because his daughter. I've got an important question about the situation in Minnesota, the death of Renee Nicole Good. I've been speaking to her father, who is a big supporter of yours, like many Americans are, but he's heartbroken right now.
I can understand that.
He's heartbroken because his daughter is dead, that's obvious. He's also heartbroken because your administration so quickly has come out and said she's a domestic terrorist. What do you want to say to her father right now?
Well, I want to say to the father that I love all of our people. They can be on the other side. As you say, he might be on my side.
He is on your side.
And I think that's great. And I do. I think it's great. And I would bet you that she, under normal circumstances, was a very solid, wonderful person. But, you know, her actions were pretty tough. I mean, I've seen it many ways and many different shapes and forms. But the bottom line is, look, we have hundreds of thousands of murderers in our countries, killers. ICE is trying to get them out. They were let in through an open border policy of Sleepy Joe Biden. ICE is working very hard to get them out. Their job is being made very, very difficult. And, you know, when you look at that tape, it can be viewed two ways, I guess. But when you look at the way that car was pulled away, there are a couple of versions of that tape that are very, very bad.
I've got an important question about the situation in Minnesota, the death of Renee Nicole Good.
Of course, that's not true. There is no version of that tape that make it seem that this woman was aggressive. And worse, the tape that was done by the killer himself actually absolved her of any wrongdoing. LBW says, I cannot believe that the producers allowed an interview in such a horrible location with all that background noise. Awful. CBS is a joke. You're right about that, LBW. CBS under Barry Weiss is a joke. Is a joke. Absolutely so. All right. Let's see where I'll go. Let's go ahead and get Michael's first video and then first short. I hope it's not too long, Michael. I'm going to play that before I start our program with the other videos. But let's go ahead and see what you got here. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and do that.
All the potential benefits. Why does it not make sense? I'm wondering, have you seen the movie WALL-E? Because I feel like, as you've been saying with AI and all the potential benefits, why does it not make sense for us to invest all of our money, all of our time into developing really, really powerful super AIs so that they can just take care of all of our problems? And in the future, we don't have to like worry about things like working and jobs.
Okay, let me answer that. If we had a political system that was run for the benefit of the people, that's exactly what we should do. We should have very powerful AI that does everything for us. We should be very careful to design it so it cares more about us than it does about itself.
Do you think that is what Mr. Musk and Mr. Bezos have in mind? Do you think that's why they're spending hundreds of billions of dollars to say, hey, isn't this great? We can lower the work week. We can guarantee healthcare, high quality healthcare to everybody. We can expand life expectancy. We can solve global warming. Man, let's go do it. That's what we want to do. Do you think that's what these guys have in mind?
Probably not.
Probably not. And what Dr. Hinton was saying is exactly the issue. Are AI and robotics inherently bad? Absolutely not. But again, I get back to the point that I started. Understand, the people who are pushing this transformative revolution are the richest people in the world. They are not staying up nights worrying about working people. In my view, they want even more wealth and they want even more power. So the struggle is not whether AI is good or bad, it's who controls it and who benefits from it. That is really the fundamental issue in my view.
That is so true. And I think I saw, not I think I know, Patrick is in the room. And Patrick and I had a discussion I think we had it here on our show about whether AI is a good thing or not. And my brother Patrick, he said, Egberto, I think on that one we'll disagree. And I said, I don't think our disagreement is going to be as much as you think it is. And I think if you listen to what Trump, I'm not Trump, what Bernie Sanders just said, and what the god of AI, I don't remember his name now, who the question was asked of, that's the point I've been trying to make. And that is AI is a good, Bernie just ended and said neither good or bad. I'm saying AI, what we have developed, AI is a good thing because, again, it's a composite knowledge of all of us. And also, it is developed by all of us. But the big question was what Bernie asked. The people who are in control of AI are Bezos and Musk and these wealthy evil people. And the other thing is that there are 3 points here. The other point is that do you think our current political system is looking for the benevolency for the individual American citizen? No. And why is that a no? Because right now it is controlled by our government is still controlled by the oligarchy, the plutocracy, the wealthy. And thirdly, right, we have to realize that capitalism is anathema to the good of the American people or the good of people anywhere. Meaning also it is capitalism, which would mean capitalism and AI cannot coexist. I repeat, capitalism and AI cannot coexist. That's a hard statement for people to accept, but it's a verifiable and truthful statement. It was inferred by I can't remember the guy in AI there, but also by Bernie Sanders. And let me go a bit further with why those two cannot exist. By definition, capitalism, they like to call it the efficient allocation of resources. In reality, it is the efficient extraction of resources for the few. That's the definition of capitalism. That's a real definition of capitalism. The efficient extraction for the few. That is what it is. And that is anathema to AI. Why? Because AI is our composite knowledge, the knowledge all of us created, both in the data set that it uses to come out with its answers and the technology that is necessary to read the data set. In other words, you show AI, you go to Chat GPT and you show Chat GPT an object that you don't know. Chat GPT goes and it searches the entire database of people who have taken pictures of that object and it compares that with other values and says, that object is XYZ. Well, how was it able to figure that? Somebody in Timbuktu put up a picture of that item. Somebody else wrote an article about that thing. Somebody else wrote a technological article about the material that contains that thing. And some engineer then wrote a program who could put all of that together and give you a logical answer. It's the same thing you would have done, but it would have taken you a lot more time because you don't have the totality of the database that AI has. You would have gone maybe to a library. In the olden days, you'd have gone to a library, open a lot of books that have objects and look at it. Now with a standard search engine, you would have given it the picture and use one of Google's mapping tools and say, these are a list of all the objects that look like that, and then you'll go ahead and do it manually, and it would have taken you a whole lot of time. Well, with all these data centers that have supercomputers now, they can do these searches almost instantaneously. But who owns the database? Bezos and all these guys, and Bezos and these guys own even more, because when Bezos went into not Bezos when Musk went into Doge, I gave you guys data that showed a computer was downloading all of our information as they were there. As they were there. So bottom line is the following. I agree with what Bernie Sanders and the guy from AI had to say. AI is anathema with the current political system that we have. AI is anathema with the current economic system that we have. So what is the solution? Do you want a shorter work week? Would you like to have a 10 or 20-hour work week so that you can spend more time with family, so that you can do other things? I would. So how do we get there? To get there, you have to excoriate the evil out of our system. And the good thing about it is this, people. There's not a lot of evil. I want you to hear me out here. The evil ones are the Jeff Bezos of the world, the Musks of the world, and all these guys who want to control all our means of production. They always say, wait a minute, socialism, the government controls the means of production. And in capitalism, the means of productions are controlled by whom again? The means of production are controlled by the individual. Okay, let's examine that. Assuming we wanted the socialism that had total government control of all means of production, that would kind of make sense. But it doesn't make any sense because that's not what democratic socialism is all about. It's about the government controlling that which is more efficient for the government to control. And by the way, it is first going under the assumption that government is exactly what it is intended to be. We, the people. Right now, government is we, the corporations and the wealthy with money. You get it? So anytime somebody says, I don't want government to control things, they're telling you they are elitists who don't want you, the people of the world, the people of America. They are saying, we don't want you to control that which should be in the commons, that which should be public. They don't want you controlling this stuff. They want to have the patriarchy, brother or God, Lord thy God Musk, Lord thy God Bezos, Lord thy God Gates, Lord thy God, and guess what? Most of the billionaires you've never heard of. Okay, those are just the ones that people know of. But no, what I'm for is we must change. We must change the political economic system in such a manner that it serves us all. We must change it that it serves us all. Remember, anytime you put your faith into the private sector, right? As a question, would you want your social security controlled by your baker? That's a private sector. No. Would you want your Medicare controlled by your baker? No. Because even if your baker did a good job in accounting for your social security or whatever, he's looking out for himself first. And if he goes bankrupt, you go bankrupt. But your government can't really go bankrupt. We, the people, as American society, cannot go bankrupt. It's a different way of thinking, people. It's a self empowering way of thinking that we have to adapt. That we have to adapt. Before I go to the other, so by the way, Michael, great video. Great video. I don't know what the other one is, but I'll get to it a little bit later. But that was a great video. Anybody, before I go to the video that I want to do now, does anybody want to call in and make a comment? I'm throwing it at you, Patrick, to see if you actually agree with that. If you want to check it out, with what we're saying. Mike Cisak says anyone could do better than what I would get from SS. That's a silly statement, but that's expected. Okay, let's see. How you doing? Who am I speaking to? I don't want to call the name out because I'm not
This
sure.
is Bobby.
Bobby, how you doing?
My name is Bobby.
Come on
Very
in,
good.
Bobby.
I was talking to one of my Republican friends the other day, and I was, kind of a lot talking about like you are. I have a couple points, but basically his point to me was, well, the powers that be, they want the consolidation of wealth so that those individuals can focus on the bigger projects for humanity that they're focused on. For instance, like colonizing more than one planet. You got, Elon working on that. You might have Zuckerberg working on the AI program. You have, Bezos. He has this, space program. And so they're basically using the middle class to fund the projects by consolidating the debt.
Well,
Back in the 40s and 50s, go ahead.
mhm. No, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead. Yeah, go.
No, no.
I was gonna switch topic a little bit. Go ahead. So go
Okay,
ahead.
well, let me just say that. My first question to all of them, whether it's a benevolent, what we like to consider a benevolent billionaire or an evil billionaire, and by the way, there are no benevolent billionaires. I just happen to say that. But here's the reality,
Right,
Bobby.
right.
Nobody gives these guys the right. Who gives them the right to determine that we want to go on another planet and to use us to do that? Who gives them the right to decide how
Exactly.
AI is
Yeah,
going to
it's
be
true.
distributed as opposed to us? I don't care how smart they are. The thing of the matter is, they're not even all that smart. The people that are
Especially
smart
when
are the
AI
people who
itself could be a threat.
Exactly. The people that are really smart are the
Right.
people who work under them. These are not the smartest cats out there. That's why you could have must go to the AI, close down USAID, not realizing that you shut down USAID, you screw the farmers, one of your main constituents. They're not that smart.
Right.
But continue with your second topic, sir.
In the 40s and 50s, when all the automation and things were happening, this is before Reaganomics and the trickle down, supposedly what was supposed to happen with trickle down economics. People were getting paid pretty well, but they were concerned that, they're going to, this technology is going to work them out of the jobs. And the corporations all kind of, consoled them. Hey, look, don't worry about it. This automation is going to, allow you to work less hours and make more money because we're going to be more profitable. And so it's going to be good for everybody. And so they figured by the time, this year's probably by 2000, I think it was, that we were going to be living in a leisure society. And they were kind of concerned with back then, well, we need to start brainstorming like, well, what is your, we don't want to turn into vegetables. Like, how are we going to, continue to progress? We don't want to dumb down as a society because we don't have to work anymore. So, they were thinking of, and so, but it never really, obviously we're still working. But now, I don't know how much does Elon's robot cost? Like it's 20,000. I know it's and the movements on
It's
the
a
one I saw were really good, and it
but
wasn't.
But you know what? Let me tell you
I'm
what, Bobby. Here's the thing, Bobby. The thing about it
right.
is to think that if we have um, objects that are doing the AI for us, that we are going to vegetate. That's a political thing, right? If we have good political
Right.
leaders, or if look, I don't know about you, right? But I
Mm.
I always want to be doing something. There's this myth that people don't want to work, right? And it's just that a myth. Let me give an example, right? I have I if I had more time on my hands, right? What would I probably do? I would probably do a lot of do it yourself projects. And what make you believe that when
Okay.
people have more time, they're not going to say, you know what, I'm going to put solar panels on this, or I'm going to build this thing here, or I'm going to build that. The thing about it is, there are two sets of
Right.
people, right? The way I grew up was you had to be doing something. And that is a cultural thing for me and
Right.
my
Right.
family. We had to be doing
Well, yeah. God,
something.
even God said like all the animals have their thing to do. The bees do this, and it keeps you healthy. That's why they were
Right.
concerned that we're going to need to find things to do. But my point was, soon we're going to come to a point, especially with artificial superintelligence and quantum computing, and now these robots are so fluid. Their movements are very fluid, where it's going to be
Yes.
more efficient for employers to buy a robot for the price of your annual salary that's going to last them 10 years solid and never miss a day of work and work 24 hours a day, and he doesn't need health care, all these things. So this leisure society, the universal basic income, is going to need almost going to become a necessity, or they're going to need to depopulate because we're just
No,
there's so
you're
many
right.
jobs that are going to be taken. I foresee.
No, you're
They're
right.
already putting these robots in factory positions and things like at BMW and places like that. So
Bobby,
they're just going to take more and
Bobby,
more jobs.
Bobby, and
Yeah.
we want that. Bobby, we want that. But we need, remember I said
Right.
capitalism doesn't
Right.
work with
If
AI. Not what
Exactly. Right. So we
what
need that utopia. If we let the robots hold on, if we let the robots handle all of that labor, then we could focus on education, and our education doesn't need to be so set on teach them how to be good employees. We could focus on things like innovation and creativity and arts and
wait a minute. You
free
just
healthcare
wait,
and
wait,
free
wait.
schools.
Hold up. Hold up.
You
Hold up.
know.
Hold up. You just said something so important. You just said it in passing, but it's the most important thing that you've said. You said education wouldn't have to be there to teach us how to be employees, and that's what it is right now. I mean,
Right.
you just said that all. That just rolled off your tongue like nothing, brother. Let me tell you something, okay? That has been one of my biggest concepts on the employee versus. I don't know if you've heard my program where I said the employee is just a more efficient slave. Okay, and I gave the story
Right.
about when people like me were slaves, I had to be clothed, I had to be fed, I had to have health care. All those things were the purview of the employer, not the employer, of course. It was a slave
Right.
master, right? That is expensive as hell.
Exactly.
The employee is
Right.
cheap. The employee is
Your
cheap.
your
I
your
am.
utopia is so it's within grasp, Egberto. It's
Yes,
right there. We
yes,
could make
yes.
it if we could break this cycle. We could make it. It's right there. It would just take the people really realizing the opportunity and visualizing it and really wanting it and forcing that change. But
You
the
sound
technology, everything that we would need to do that is there.
you named it. You sound young. My hope is in young folks like you, man. Keep up the thinking and spread the word. All right.
I'm actually 54, but yeah,
Oh damn, you
thank you.
sound younger than 54, man. That's because you have the mind of a young
I'm
dude. All
young at
right.
heart. Yeah.
There you go. There you. That's
Anyway,
me
you have
too.
a good day.
I'm an old man with a young heart. You take it easy, my brother. Take care. All right.
All right.
Anyway, folks, let's play the first video. It's a 8-minute video, but it's important about the speech and a little bit. It's hey, Rodney, you're not gonna like this because it's a guy that you love so much.
The president said that prices were going down and said food prices were going down quickly. Well, the fact is that December, the last month that was reported, food prices actually shot up at a faster rate than any time in 3 years. Food prices did not shoot up as much as they did last month since 2022. The president also said that inflation's gone. Inflation's not gone. Inflation's at about 2.7%. For 2025, inflation was around 2.7%. And food prices were stubbornly high. So if you're out there and you're hearing somebody telling you food prices are going down, that's just not the case. You also heard that, and the president loves to say that inflation was higher ever under Joe Biden, and how horrible the situation was when he took control of the White House. Actually, inflation wasn't higher ever than ever before under Joe Biden in history. World War I, inflation was up at 19%. In the 70s, the great inflation, the 1970s, it was around 13 to 14%. In the 1980s, when Reagan was president, where was inflation? Inflation was at about 13, 14%. When Joe Biden left office in 2024, his last year in office. Now, I don't know if you can actually handle the facts if you're in a warped bubble, ideological bubble. Here are the facts. When Joe Biden left office in 2024, his last year in office, inflation was at 2.9%. Can you absorb that? 2.9%. Donald Trump's first year in office, inflation at 2.7%. Basically the same thing. The only thing that concerns me really right now is the fact home heating prices keep going up. Groceries keep going up. Housing costs keep going up. And Willie, when healthcare, my God, healthcare is unaffordable for middle class and even upper middle class Americans. It's a disaster. This affordability crisis, to say that's a hoax when the very things that keep people alive are skyrocketing to where they're unaffordable, Willie. No lie. No, it's just a lie. The problem is, again, let's just go where most people feel the pinch the most. And that is with the groceries. They shot up in December, skyrocketed. Worst since 2022. That is something that really worries me because of the pinch that working class and middle class voters are already feeling right now.
He's like King Canute, trying to part the waters and claim something's happening that isn't happening. And there are a lot of false claims. For example, he claims that he brought $18 trillion of new investment into the United States, but his own website only says it was $9.6 trillion, and that's probably exaggerated. He talks about, as Joe mentioned, the highest growth in history, but growth last year in 2025 was lower than it was in 2024 under Biden. So he's trying to, by just simply making up these facts, somehow convince the American people that he's on track. And then, of course, to deny the affordability crisis is just laughable. Incomes have gone up, as he said, but prices have gone up almost as fast. And what he also didn't say is income inequality actually widened last year. The people at the bottom did worse than the people at the top. For the first time in several years, they did better under Biden at the top than at the bottom. It was interesting because he didn't mention housing until he was about 40 minutes into the speech. And then it was simply 3 sentences, less than a minute of his 45 minutes on housing, because I think he may recognize that this is a problem and he hasn't got really a solution. So let's go back and take a look at what the problem is for starters. So essentially, if you go all the way back to 2000, housing has generally gone up faster than incomes. This is median household income. This is the price, the cost of buying a house. This is the cost of renting. You can see that the cost of buying a house has gone up over 280%. In other words, it's almost tripled, while incomes have gone up by far less. And what's particularly interesting here is you can just see with your eye how much it has spiked since 2020 and how house prices have just run away from the average American. So that's the problem. And then you combine that with interest rates. Now, he loves to bash Jerome Powell and claim these interest rates are his fault. I won't get into the weeds on this, but just take it from me. The Fed does not control mortgage rates. It controls short-term interest rates, doesn't control mortgage rates. Those are controlled by other factors that I won't get into today. But when you combine higher interest rates with higher home prices, the cost to a family of affording a house has roughly doubled. For a typical $400,000 house, it was about $1,000 a month in payments. Between the higher cost of the house and the higher mortgage payments, it's now $2,000 a month. So this is the affordability crisis in housing that, as I said, Trump really didn't get into at all yesterday. Supply and demand, like so many other parts of the economy. And so you can see if you go back to 2000, we were building about 1.5 million new houses a year. And then before the financial crisis, and there was a lot of cheap money around, frankly, housing starts went all the way up to about 2.25 million per year. And then you had the financial crisis and they went down, down, down to 500,000. They've never come back for a variety of reasons. They've never come back, and now they're even slightly softer at about 1.25 million houses being built. And the reasons really relate to affordability, that people can't necessarily afford these houses, so you don't build them. They relate to interest rates are higher, which again is not Jerome Powell's fault. They relate to difficulties in permitting and zoning, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But when you put it all together, these are 5 reputable forecasters of all different sorts, and the estimates of how short we are on housing range from 2.8 million down here from J.P. Morgan all the way up to 4.9 million here. Obviously, building more houses would put downward pressure on prices and make them more affordable for Americans. Yeah, he repeated a bunch of these yesterday and also said he was going to make a major speech on housing at Davos next week. I'm not sure why you go to Davos to talk about housing in America, but that's not my problem. But as you said, he's made a number of suggestions, proposals, whatever you want to call them, and let's take a look at them. First, there has been a bit of a trend of large investment firms buying groups of houses and then renting them out. But let's put that in perspective. Big investors own less than 1% of the houses. Most of them are owned by families, individuals. A few smaller investors, somebody might own a couple houses or a small apartment building. But big investors are not a major factor in this. And by the way, if they own this house, they're going to rent it out. The house isn't like going offline or something like that. So then he threw out the other day the idea of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which, as you know, are the big government mortgage companies, buying $200 billion of mortgage bonds to try to bring mortgage rates down because, as I said, that is not something the Fed controls. Sounds like a lot of money, except for one little problem. There's $12 trillion of mortgage debt outstanding. $200 billion doesn't make a dent in $12 trillion. That will have no effect on house prices. And then lastly, they've thrown out the idea of a 50-year mortgage instead of the 30-year mortgage, with the concept that it would stretch out payments, make payments per month lower, and thereby make it more affordable. But let's look at the math on that. Typical $400,000 house, 6.5% mortgage. Your payments would actually go down if you went from a 30-year mortgage to a 50-year mortgage. Your payments go down from $2,023 to $1,804, so about $200 is all you would save per month. That is not going to solve the housing problem either.
All right, all right. I want to do 2 things for educational purposes. Earlier this morning, I think it was Lita Bearcat, if I remember correctly, as I was slamming the failure of the Trump economy, he said, but the GDP was 4.2%. And I wanted to explain a few things to him because just looking at the GDP numbers says squat, right? Because the reason our GDP has rise up, is because of the tariffs, our imports have fallen. And as the import has fallen, the net gain between imports and exports actually gives an increase in GDP without any marginal increase in the economic activity. So therefore, stating that Donald Trump has a 4.2 GDP when imports caved doesn't tell the story. And that's why it is important not just to read top line numbers. It is important not to read. So you could be in a recession. You could be in a recession while the GDP looks good if the balance between export and import has a certain delta. So don't let these numbers fool you. The next thing that I want to talk about real quick is something that CSAC, and I don't usually talk about CSAC because it doesn't make a lot of sense. But I want to point out something. He's screaming because China is, and it is true, China subsidizes a lot of their electric industry, their electric car industry, and we don't. And like, you know how we subsidize our electric industry, our electric car industry? We throw on a big tariff. You know what China does? China subsidizes them, right? So I always believe in looking at results for policy. What was the result of this policy? Well, guess what? China's electric cars, from the low end to the high end, are very good. I had a discussion with one of our people on KPFT when I told them that China was selling an electric car in Jamaica for like $12,000 or something like that. Oh, that's impossible. Because, we spend $12,000 for the batteries here, right? But it is ridiculous. It seems to me that if you want to go ahead and make a plan and you say, it looks like subsidizing the auto industry can get you damn good cars and all that good stuff, I would have to say China won that battle. But let's go a little bit further because we like to play the false story like we don't subsidize our corporations. Well, the corporations that we subsidize do very darn well. Look at our oil companies. Our oil companies, even as they pay a few royalties for stealing our oil, they also get something known as a depletion allowance, which gives them that money right back. That's a subsidy. It is a subsidy. So it is so easy. It is so easy to mislead those who continue to cherish their ignorance and their miseducation. It is so easy. It is so easy to do that. Anyway, so let's see. There was one other thing that I wanted to mention. I think it was something LBW said. I want to jump to. She said building houses is too expensive right now. Tariff increases, and I did a piece this morning on that for my 6 o'clock show that I need to tell all of you about because this is knowledge that we all need to have, right? We went ahead, most of 80% of the soft wood, of the wood that we use to build the framings on homes in the United States, guess where they come from? They come from Canada. 80% of the wood that we put in homes in America comes from Canada. And we slapped, I think it's a 40% tariff on that wood. So that means that overnight, the wood framing, and we're just talking the wood framing. There are a lot of other things in the home. But overnight, the wood framing on your house, the build your house, went up by over 40%, right? On our home in 2027, it would have added $14,000 to the price of that home. That's a baseline. That's not the markup. Because, in housing, everything is markup. Well, Lee the Bearcat thought he had a story for me this morning. He said, well, in Austin, the home prices have dropped. Completely confusing appreciation of homes versus the actual cost of homes. The bottom line is that the cost of homes have dramatically increased because of Trump's failed policies called tariffs and the like. And it doesn't matter what our right-wing guys want to say. Doesn't matter. The numbers are absolute. The numbers are absolute. So, folks, you go out there when you're talking on these issues. Let it be known that the con is on. Let me give a part of what I told the audience this morning. Our farmers who farm soybeans are in, not only soybeans, but soybean is one of the major crops, are in trouble because we lost China as a customer. And you notice Donald Trump isn't talking about that anymore. They were, China is going to start back buying. China ain't going to buy diddly. They said that the first time around. China has a long-term contract with Argentina. Okay? So our silos with soybeans are filled up, which means the price of soybean in America should be dirt cheap. Please, please, please go to your grocery stores. Look at the content, look at the source material for much of what you buy in a grocery store. Look at the products so you can see how much of your raw material is in a product by simply looking at how they're lined up. You're going to find that there's a lot of soybean in a lot of our products. A lot of soybean. There's soybean oil that's used to fry potato chips. There are soybean flakes. There's soy milk. Thank you for that one, LBW. All these things that are made with soy. LBW, the price of soy milk didn't go down, it went up. We are being played. And the most important percentage product in soy milk after water is soybeans. And the price of soybeans are down, supposedly should be down. So ask yourself, who is being played? The private sector is playing you. The corporations are playing us all. And we sit down and we carry water for them. And you have these right wingers here. They are just bastions of capitalism. Oh, it works just fine. No, capitalism says I'll extract whatever I can from you at whatever cost without thinking about humanity. These are not questions, my brothers and sisters. We are living it right now. We are living it right now. We are living it right now. I think I saw a video from Paul Fleming that says collusion. I hope it's a short one, Paul. Let me see if it's a short one or not. Para ver. Let's see. I want to see if I have enough time to play that. Where's the timing on that? I can't see a time on that. I can't play that one right now. But it is one that you intrigued me with the piece that you put under it. Egberto is on fire. It is so good. We are on. No, it's not Egberto on fire. We are on fire. This is a collective, brothers and sisters. That's what we are. What we are supposed to do here, and including our right wing brothers who give us material. Look how much material we got from our right wing that we know we can use. For those of you who live in red districts, you know the crap that they're hearing and they're feeling. We get a chance to counteract that civilly, intelligently, educatedly. Right? That's what we got. John A. Brother John A. So anyway, folks, look, we are coming close to the end of the program. It's at 56 right now. Does anybody want to call? I have more videos, but I'm not going to play them. There are 1-minute videos that, I kind of touch on some of the things that I covered here. Anybody want to call? 281-823-7747. Repeating myself, 281-823-7747. 281-823-7747. Si alguien quiere llamar para hablar en español también, que no entienden, quieren hablar de lo que está haciendo la migra, podemos hablar de eso también. Si tienen problemas que quieren que nosotros últimamente resultamos, nos pueden llamar también. You can give us a call for whatever you need. That number 281-823-7747, 281-823-7747. All right. LBW says, y'all check out Clayton Tucker for the Agriculture Commissioner position. I am supposed to get an interview with him, but I have a special interview that I'm going to be bringing you guys tomorrow. I'm not going to tell you who it is yet. I want to surprise you guys. All I'm going to say. It's a woman that I've worked with before, and I'm so proud of what she did. And we're supposed to be doing that interview in the morning, and I can't wait. I'm excited to talk to her. I can say that. I'm excited because what she did is what more of us have to do. She did a wonderful job, and that's what we're going to talk about. Anyway, folks, we're coming close to the end. Am I going to be lonely at the end of the day? At least we got Bobby K to call in earlier. But am I going to be lonely for the last minute? Let's see. 281-823-7747. ¿Quién me va a llamar? ¿Quién me va a llamar y decir, quiero hablar con Egberto? Vamos a hablar de esto, mi amigo. Who's going to give me a call and say, hey, we got to talk about this. Okay? Anyhow. While I wait to see if I get a call, I think it's a good point for me to go ahead and say, hey guys, please support the program. How can you do that? You can support the program if you're on Substack right now. Click that subscribe button and please, again, it's a coffee, guys. You are by supporting what we're doing here. You ensure I make sure one of the things that I said I'm doing this year, I'm making sure that I'm all over everywhere with almost everything that I write. I have tools that help me with that, but I still have to do a lot of that manually. But help us out here. Make sure we can continue doing this by becoming paid subscribers. Just go to, if you're on Substack, go ahead and click the subscribe button and become a paid subscriber. Inexpensive. If you have a lot of ducats, you can consider being a founding member too. By the way, if you're not there, go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and you can sign up there, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Anyway, folks, I have got to start getting out of here. So let me go ahead and get the music started. I love you all, and I mean that from the depths of my heart. This is how we are going to change the world. And yes, Bobby K, I believe in the utopia. And that is why I wrote the book as well. Not only it's worth it, meaning how to talk to our right-wing guys, I also did that one about utopia, how to make America utopia. And by the way, one of the editors of my book, How to Make America Utopia, is in. As I see it, we'll tell you some truths about capitalism. But How to Make America Utopia, take away the economy from those who rigged it. Anyway, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what?
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.